is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining us. Coach people, these are mostly growth companies, Seed Plus, Series A, Series B companies, later stage that we work with, and we help them get their campaign together, provide investor engagement, make introductions, run email and digital marketing campaigns for outreach, run pitch events, etc. So we're making introductions for each of these guys. We do the legwork that people normally have to do for these campaigns because there's just a lot of mailing and event management that goes into it, and that's mostly what we do. So today we're in our family office roundtable. It's a 2-hour event where we talk about topics relevant to family offices, and we have some of our companies pitch. We also have other online events such as the virtual quick pitch. This is a 2-hour event with our tech companies where they're pitching to a panel of tech investors, and then there are tech investors in the audience. And third, we have the Life Science Syndicate. This is for our life science companies where they pitch to primarily physicians and investors in life science deals. If you want to learn more about the events at 10 Capital, go to 10capital.group and click on the events tab, and you'll find out more about all the other events that we have going on each month. If you're raising funding, go ahead and take a picture of that QR code on the screen and send it to us, and we will be glad to fill out the form. It'll send it to us, and we'll look at that to see if that's a fit for our program and if this would be a benefit to you. We'll set up a call and talk with you about it afterwards just to make sure we understand everything about your deal. So looking forward to talking with you guys about your campaign. So in addition to helping startups raise funding, one of the things we're doing is actually helping with content. We have what's called the Startup Funding Espresso, and the time it takes to drink an espresso, you can learn more about startup funding and investing. These are 300-word micro-blog posts with short podcast audio that goes with it. We've done several thousand of these so far over the years, and we've now put them inside a chatbot. We call that chatbot Ava. And instead of doing a search through the espressos to find an answer, you just simply ask your question, and the chatbot gives you the answer itself. So with that, wanted to show you a little bit more about how that works. We'll click the play button here, give you an overview of our chatbot and what it can do for you.
You're looking to transform your investment strategy with new cutting-edge AI. Let me introduce our newest addition to the 10 Capital team, Ava, your personal AI venture assistant.
Hi there. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ava, your personal AI venture assistant. I'm your new best friend in the world of investing in startups, the 10 Capital AI chatbot. I'm here to make your journey through the startup ecosystem easier, faster, and a lot more fun. Need help finding your next big investment? Or maybe you're a founder looking for fundraising tips? I've got you covered. I pull all my knowledge from over 500 vlogs, countless podcasts, and even some nifty calculators, like the How Fundable Is Your Startup tool, to give you the answers you need. So how do I work? Easy. You simply go to where I live on startupfundingespresso.com and look for me in the bottom right. As soon as I appear, go ahead and click on me to let me know you're here. And then there you go. All your questions answered at your fingertips. Whether you're into health tech, biotech, life sciences, or any of the other exciting fields out there, I'm equipped to help you navigate the trends, challenges, and opportunities in each one. Got a question? Just ask. And guess what? I even pull insights from the 10 Capital Network podcast on Investor Connect. It's packed with expert advice, success stories, and more, all designed to help you succeed in the venture capital world. So what are you waiting for? Let's chat. I'm here 24/7 to help you find the right answers, connect with great opportunities, and make the most out of your investments. See you on startupfundingespresso.com.
Thank you for that. With that, let's go ahead and kick in today's presentation. Today we have with us Herbert Drayton. He's a partner at Highmark Capital, and today he's going to be talking about building capacity before change, and wanted to hear more from one of our favorite presenters, Herbert. Herbert, can you tell us more about yourself and what you do at Highmark Capital, and then let's go into your presentation.
Sure, Hall. Thank you for the introduction. I'll let you see my face while I introduce myself. I'm based in wonderful Charleston, South Carolina. So happy to be here today. Highmark Capital is a venture fund. We focus on investing in startups. Primarily right now, we're looking at AI startups. led by underrepresented founders in the Southeast. Most of our investments right now are in the state of South Carolina, and I'm looking forward to sharing my perspectives on, you see the title here, Building Capacity Before Change, Laying the Foundation for Scalable Impact.
Well, thank you for joining us today. What led you to build this presentation?
Well, I owned a boutique management buyout firm, did that for about 15 years, converted over to a venture capital fund back in 2022, I believe. And over that time, I've found that there are a number of things that I believe that most investors should be aware of prior to making a commitment to a startup or an early stage or late stage companies. Most of the due diligence that I've seen is just simply focused on the founders and also on their business, but there should be an ecosystem that's surrounded an entrepreneur to ensure that they're successful.
Well, that's great. Well, that's great. Well, let's go ahead and kick into your presentation and learn more.
Welcome and thank you for joining 10 Capital today. I'll be discussing a critical yet often overlooked component of sustainable investments, ensuring that the right capacity exists before expecting outsized returns. This approach will ensure that founders are not just funded, but are truly ready to scale and the environment exists in which they could do that. So the goal is to explore the infrastructure, mentorship, just a brief nod on patient capital and how we can lay the foundation for robust entrepreneurial ecosystems, ultimately driving long-term scalable impact and returns. And after each slide, I'll pose a rhetorical questions just for you to ponder as we move through. And the first question is, if we expect entrepreneurs to build successful companies, shouldn't we include as due diligence to ensure that the environment exists that allows them to thrive? But before we talk about capital, let's talk about readiness. Too often investments fail because the right support systems weren't in place to sustain growth. And these are probably questions that you don't ask because you're focused on the business, you're focused on the founder, you're focused on their go-to-market strategy, you're focused on making sure that they have that first or sustainable customer base and distribution partner. But without the infrastructure, mentorship, and community backing, even the best ideas struggle to take off. If you take a look at the middle component here, investable founders require a pipeline built on education, network, and resources. I know here in the state of South Carolina, we're still trying to build that strong ecosystem to support those entrepreneurs. A well-supported founder is a well-positioned founder. And when you decide to invest, I would ensure that the ecosystems are in place. If it's not, ensure you work with the entrepreneur to create an environment where they don't just start businesses, but they can build scalable, investable ventures. And the question I would pose to you here is, how many great ideas have been lost simply because their creators lacked access to the right support? No entrepreneur succeeds in isolation. Building an entrepreneur ecosystem requires alignment among accelerators, business development organizations, and educational institutions to provide founders with the right tools at the right time. So if you're making an investment in an entrepreneur, I'll say right here in South Carolina, it would be helpful to understand what accelerators exist around them, what business development organizations are in their area. And in terms of market readiness and access to potential customers, are there customers that they can engage where within walking distance or driving distance? You know, I tell entrepreneurs often, if you can't sell at home, you can't sell abroad. And abroad doesn't mean internationally. Abroad means within a neighboring state. And as you look at accelerators and incubators in these communities, too often accelerators and incubators, they have an 8-week, 12-week, even a 12-month program. But then after graduation, there's a cliff. Make sure that when you talk with entrepreneurs, if these programs are in their communities, understand what happens after they graduate from an accelerator. Is there funding available? Is there coaching available to move these entrepreneurs into these spaces where they can get funding? And it's not just a cliff and we leave entrepreneurs out on their own. You know, again, the question here is, if you already have the expertise and resources within your networks, Are you truly working with these entrepreneurs to connect them? Even if that accelerator is not in their community where they're domiciled, is there an accelerator that you may be aware of that you can connect them to? Keep that in mind. Next, think of, strategies for building infrastructure, if you will. Think of a skyscraper, if you will. Before that skyscraper rises, a strong foundation must be laid. The same principle applies to entrepreneurship. Without proper infrastructure, companies they crumble under the weight of growth. It's nice to talk to entrepreneurs about businesses that they can scale, but as I said in the previous slide, if you can't sell in your own backyard or your own front yard, you will never be able to sell outside of that space. One of the things I look to do when I'm working with entrepreneurs is to build scaffolding around the business and the entrepreneur. And that's doing a complete assessment of the skill sets and talents of an entrepreneur. If an entrepreneur is not in the digital marketing space, I find it hard to believe that they will understand how to put together a digital marketing strategy. So if you're going to make the investment in a company and you realize that they need digital marketing, make sure that you're providing the scaffolding needed to provide the digital marketing. If you're investing in an entrepreneur that is struggling with a P&L balance sheet or a cash flow statement, make sure that you're bringing in a bookkeeper or a CPA firm to train them. You got to commit those resources, I would say, at least over a 12-month period to ensure that they're getting the mentoring and coaching that they need if it's in the financial space. Because one of the other things I found is that most entrepreneurs know the thing that they do, but they don't know all the things that are required to support the things that they do. And that's your marketing, that's the operational expertise, that's understanding the financials, that's understanding the customer success piece. I've never found an entrepreneur that understands what true customer success means. We bolt on the customer success component. We partner with a company that they wake up at night, they wake up in the morning thinking about customer support, they go to bed thinking about customer support. And the term that I share with entrepreneurs when we're having conversations with them is that support should follow the sun, meaning that if you've got a support partner, someone should always be waking up every hour or every 2 hour, providing daytime support. And we found this out when we launched a SaaS company. When we were in the Southeast, it was fine because all of our customers were on the Southeast. But then we scaled to Central Standard Time, out to the West Coast, got some customers in Great Britain. And so we couldn't have standard support 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. We had to have round the clock support. And one of the lessons learned there is that if most of our clients were in Texas and in California, and when we had a bug or a problem with the application, after a couple of problems, we had to implement as part of our service level agreements that no problem will hit the next time zone. That ensured that by the time, if we find out a problem by 7 a.m., by 8 a.m., we want to solve the problem so that our central time zone customers weren't affected. And God knows we did not want the problems to hit Texas or California. So these are the things that you learn, and these are the things that are critical in terms of building out the infrastructure to support the investments that you make. So would you expect a house to stand without a foundation? And clearly the answer is no. And my question to you is then, so why do we expect startups to scale without ensuring that they have a solid foundation? Mentorship. I learned the power of mentorship many, many years ago. My mentor was a guy by the name of James Ferguson. He was the president and CEO of General Foods International. And I met with Jim, once a month. We went to lunch and talked. And I will tell you, one of the good things I found about him being a great mentor, when he died, I was in Colorado, and his wife told me and said, "Our dear friend is gone." And in that moment, I wanted to know so much more about Jim because I thought that there was so much more he had left to teach me. And as we're wont to do, I went on the internet and I started searching for James Ferguson. And what was amazing is that I could not find anything on the internet that Jim had not shared with me. So when you're engaging folks and introducing them to mentors, make sure that these mentors are truly pouring into these entrepreneurs and they're self-aware about what they can teach these folks, but more importantly, have an understanding of what it is that these entrepreneurs need to know. Capital alone doesn't build good companies. Guidance does. Founders who have access to experienced mentors, they can navigate challenges faster and make better decisions, avoiding costly mistakes. And a good mentor truly gives founders a safe space. And keep in mind, mentorship is not just about advice, it's about access. Whenever I had a career change or something sticky, I could always reach out to Jim and get time on his calendar. And for the purposes of this call, the right connections opens doors to funding, partnerships, strategic growth opportunities. So investing in mentorship is investing in the future of business. And with regard to partnerships, one of my companies, we've developed a strategic relationship with a partner that will give us access to 29,000 potential customers. They're going to walk us into the door. And our goal is really just to get on a trajectory where we're going to acquire 10% of that base. And that 29,000 represents a third of the market that we're targeting. And for the math wizards on the phone, 2,900, that 10%, the SaaS company is going to be charging $3,999 a month. So you can do the math on that and see what that will do for the startup. My question here is, how many promising founders could succeed if they had just one great mentor in their corner? Keep in mind, you might have to help them find that mentor. The long-term implications of capital here, when we think impact investing, people typically will think about, minorities, underserved folks. Impact investing is not simply the demographic of your founder. It's about the impact that you're going to have in communities. One of our companies that we have, we're targeting the mental health of first responders and military personnel being deployed. So please keep that in mind. And it's not measured over years or quarters. It's measured over the impact that you will have on the customer demographic. When you have a patient mindset with respect to your investing, you not only ensure that that impactful businesses are not forced into short-term thinking, which a lot of them are, but this approach will create sustainable enterprises that deliver both financial and social returns. So if we're willing to wait years for a tree to bear fruit, I would ask, why do we expect instant returns from businesses built for lasting impact? And more importantly, for this audience, for an exit where you can get a multiple on your invested capital. Taking a look at our portfolio, what I'll share with you is that all of these companies have an AI component. And it's my challenge to all of the founders is, do we create a solution to a problem that we have to push our way into a customer base, or do we create a solution where customers will see what the solution is and pull us into the space to solve the problem that they have? Too often, and I was guilty of this in the past as well, we create a solution in a vacuum, and then we expect, unlike a light bulb where light is inside that vacuum, we expect that the glowing and the marketing, the pizzazz marketing we put around it will invite people in. C certified, it's a very analog space in terms of both certifications, logging, who's got certification. It has an impact on insurance premiums for boat owners. Obviously, it has an impact on payouts from insurance carriers. Haruki, I mentioned this earlier, targeting military and first responders. So oftentimes with mental health, it's something that we deal with after a traumatic event has occurred. With Haruki, this platform is designed to train folks on resiliency, regulation, and restoration with respect to intermittent traumas that they may face. This is a platform that came out of a federally funded research and development center. They originally developed it to help reduce the divorce rate of deployed and redeployed service members. And the example I like to use here is, I spent time in the Marine Corps and Air Force. A Marine goes on deployment for 90 days. They leave home, they're the king of the castle. They come back, they think they're the king of the castle. So when they leave, if they call their spouse and they're having a conversation with them, just because that person doesn't have time to talk to you at 5 o'clock like they used to when you were home and there was shared parenting, it doesn't mean that anything bad is going on because they said they can't have a conversation with you. They've got stuff to do. And also when you return home, you can't be the king of the castle. So just helping service members who are deployed understand the dynamics of the changes in the relationships where they're deployed and redeployed. That's how this platform was developed. We moved it into the first responder space to ensure that, service members understand, not first responders. If you go to a house fire and there are 4 kids in it and one of the kids dies, this platform actually teaches you coping strategies to deal with that type of stuff. Nexus RFP, it's a platform that was designed that will help with carve-outs in federal, state, and local contracts. Not just if there are carve-outs for veterans or 8As, this platform actually identifies those contracts and actually does matchmaking with those veterans who own companies. And if the veterans want to make a proposal on the RFP, that actually gives them the response in an editable format so that they could present the pitch. FOIA Assist that came out of a federally funded research and development center as well. Nearly 500 federal agencies have FOIA officers. There's a significant backlog. There are 37 standard redactions that have to happen when a contract is released into the public domain. This one uses AI to identify those 37 standard redactions. It also allows you to add custom redactions into the platform as well. And then persistent overwatch, advanced aerial surveillance. Not only does it attach to any drone, but it does digital mapping to persons of interest. This is a law enforcement one. I was reluctant to lean into this one because it kind of gives a sense of the Chinese government. So as you see, that one's in due diligence as well. I hope in this short time, I've shared with you the capacity building for entrepreneurs. It's just not about the business or the entrepreneur or the team, but do they have the environment and the resources where they're domiciled to ensure that they're successful after you've written the check? And I would also say that after you've written the check, are there things that you could do to support that entrepreneur, identifying a mentor, identifying a coach, identifying an accelerator and incubator that may be within your geographic region that you can refer them to and encourage them to apply for? I think that the best investments are those made in people with the understanding that the ecosystems are there and it's not just a business. So I would say as you make investments, as you engage with 10 Capital and other folks that put companies in front of you, I'd say let's all try to work together to strengthen the entrepreneurial pipeline, ensuring that founders have the tools, resources, and funding they need to drive scalable impact. And I'll leave you with this question, and Hall, I'll turn it back over to you. If we truly believe in the power of entrepreneurship to change the world, it's probably time that we invest in the foundation and the ecosystems and not just focus on the outcome. Thank you.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.